So, so Christy, I know that when we started, we had the goal of creating this arc of content that was intended to be consumed in this digestible format of the half-day seminar, just 3.5 quick hours, but totally enlightening, starting here at this point with the first session and then ending with this panel discussion on business continuity. I know that you attended many of the sessions today. So I guess my first question to you is, how do you think it went? Did we deliver on telling that sort of story of the arc of the narrative of cloud security or reducing cloud risk, but you haven't thought of yet?
Yeah, that was my whole intent behind picking these topics. Was these are things that I want to have conversations about, and I cannot thank our speakers enough. I just the other sessions that I was able to attend, I'm so I did find out things that I hadn't thought of yet. So I think it was a success, and I hope others felt the same way.
So feel free to be as specific as you want about the actual sessions that you did attend, but I'm wondering, what were for you some of your top takeaways from today's seminar?
I attended the monitoring session, the staffing session, and then Charles's, you're here now what kind of session, and they were all fantastic. And the first takeaway is I'm going to go back and watch the sessions that I didn't get to sit in on and hear from everybody else, because I want to make sure I cover everything. But really, I think for me, the big takeaway is we have to start having these conversations, right? These hard conversations of these are real risks. We are here now. Maybe not everything's perfect. So let's dig into that and really figure out how we're going to do that. A couple of specific themes that I think are super important. It's that governance. We've got to have some cohesive, flexible framework to operate in under the cloud, so that the business can get their value out of it. But you have to have that security and privacy layer on it, or you're going to introduce risks that perhaps you didn't expect. So it's just really kind of going back and starting those conversations and starting to go around my organization and start peeking in the corners again and seeing, what else we missed, what else do we need to talk about.
And so, one of the objectives with the educational content that we share at all of our conferences is making sure that, number one, it's educational and informative, and also that it's actionable for attendees. So I wanted to ask you, based on some of the things that you've taken away from today's, what are some next steps that you'll take back to your role with you? And how will you apply what you've learned today in the coming weeks, days, and months?
Yeah, and first step, like I said, I'm going to watch the other sessions because I want to make sure that I hear everything. But for my actionable steps back in my organization is really getting that governance structure back into place. I think is going to be critical. At some point, whether you start there and whether you've lost the governance structure or whether you created it later, I think that open conversation has to happen. So the other couple things, we do testing all the time, but I don't think we've had a really in detail cloud test with all the parties that need to be involved. And everybody that mentioned it is spot on. You do not understand what's going to break until you start walking through or actually get your hands on the keyboard to do this. So that's another thing. And then the last part is getting back into the training. We got to make sure that our staff are adequately trained to understand how to detect and analyze and respond to incidents in the cloud, because they're going to happen. And we want to make sure that we're, and Roger just said it in the panel, we want to make sure that we are not trying to undo that during an incident. So I think more repeat exercises where we can kind of go through them until it's kind of muscle memory, I think is really important.
Yeah. And I think, it's important for attendees to really take the time to, in listening to you lay that out, I think, for them really reflect on, okay, so these are the conversations that I was able to sit in on. These are the sessions that I heard. And what's so important is those next steps. What do I do with that information? How do I make that actionable? And, actually start to implement. And so is there a way or advice that you can give to the listeners about how to sort of implement the application of those next steps?
Well, and that's the hard part. Some of the things we've talked about today are big problems, and they're big efforts, right? So don't try to do everything at once. You've got to figure out where's your highest priority risk. What are you most concerned about in your organization, and start breaking that down into manageable chunks that can be addressed, right? You're not, everybody's limited on resources. You may not have all the training you want or need. You may not have, even know where all your assets are. Start small, but start somewhere. That's the important part. Just, again, prioritize where you think your biggest gaps are. As an organization, don't make that in a silo, that decision. And then just start chipping away at it, and you'll get there, hopefully sooner than later.
Excellent. Christy, thank you so much. I know that you've dedicated so much of your time and energy to helping us create this of our first quarterly seminar, and we really appreciate all of the help that you've given to us. And again, a shout out to all of the speakers who contributed to the success of today's event. We so look forward to the continuation of these quarterly virtual seminars, our next one coming up in March, and then June, September, and December of 2021. Don't forget, listeners, that we also have our January Summit coming up January 27th. It's a full day event with 4 tracks, multiple sessions, interactive opportunities, and even a sponsor showcase. So we're really looking forward to seeing you again on more of our content that we deliver. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you.